get an opportunity to talk to Orlando Steiner of the Hamilton Tiger Cats, Kahari Jones, Montreal Alouettes, and Craig Dickinson of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. All three of you making it to the playoffs in 2019 as first-time head coaches. Different situations. You knew you were going to be a head coach for a while. Kahari was a unique situation, stepping in for Mike Sherman, and Craig being selected coming up from a special teams role. The way that you guys made the playoffs was all different. But I'm wondering from each of you, and we'll go down the line, starting with you, Orlando, is how did you kind of set the pattern for your men in the room and say, this is where we want to go, and here's how we're going to get there? Because every team has its own journey, but you certainly set that pattern in Hamilton.
Yeah, I think it all starts with clear expectations and goals and those sort of things. But you need buy-in along the way. I think you have to be flexible enough to adjust because football is a game of mistakes. It's also a game of injuries, and they're unpredictable. And so you can have a nice plan of where we're going and this is how we're going to get there, but I think you got to be flexible. The focus is never the Grey Cup. The focus is the next week in front of us. That's kind of how we were able to do it and maintain focus along our journey.
The biggest thing for us was the week to week and what do we need to do that week to try to win that game, and that's the only thing that we really focused on. And then we'd look up and see, who was injured, who we had, what was going on the next week, and then go from there. But I liked it because we never made excuses, we never worried about anything. We never worried about any noise on the outside. Everybody just said, you know what, let's go this week and see what happens. And then you look up after the season and you hope you're in one of those 6 positions.
It's true for all teams. You go into a season when you look at your schedule and you try to divide it up into what you consider some natural breaks along the way and try to focus on that. But we felt like if we could improve each week, when it was all said and done, we'd be in a position where we would have a chance. We had a very good schedule last year, I'm not going to lie. We had breaks, it seemed like at just the right times, right about when we started to get beat up and a little bit worn out. It seemed like we had a bye. And so a lot of things worked last year for us. It's such a long season that my message to the players was just focused on getting a little bit better each week, improving your game, and staying healthy. And we were able to do that for the most part.
Was there anything that surprised you guys? Because when you're talking about taking over a new role, Kahari, you just said you wanted to be a head coach for a while. You're open about that. Orlando, I think a lot of people understood that this was going to become a reality. You're looking at this job, and I think a lot of the time people look at jumping from a coordinator to a head coaching job, and they think of it as, well, it's it's the same job as what he's doing. No, you have to handle a lot of other things that are around it. Was there anything that jumped out to you where, like the third day of training camp, somebody hands you a clipboard that says, hey, you need to decide on this day, and you're like, what is this?
Well, I'll say this. When you're the head coach, people think you need to know everything. They like, oh, coach, you better know what's going on here. And as an assistant, I enjoyed being able to just do this sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need to know all that stuff.
Right.
But as a head coach, if you leave your door open, which we all do, I'm sure, you're going to get a lot of people coming through telling you about things that are sometimes important and sometimes not important at all.
Yes.
Yet you got to listen, and you got to at least give them that time. So that's the one thing is you have to. I'm sure you guys can relate. You have to really manage your time well, and you have to know when to say no and say, hey, I have work to do. I'm not maybe gonna shut the door completely, but it's gonna be almost shut, and I need to just get my head down and watch this film and do some work.
How quickly did you guys realize that?
Yeah, I'd say right away for me, like you're just privy to a lot more also. Something's happening in a dorm room or somebody missed a flight. What do you want to do with that? How do you want to handle it? And before it was just nice to just give the opinion. Oh, I wouldn't stand for that. I wouldn't stand for that. I can't believe it. Or you're taking the mental note. If I was in that, I probably wouldn't. That's not a big deal to me. But then all of a sudden it's, 1 buses or 2 now. You're on. Well, that means we can't do this. For real? It's like, so you're just privy to a lot more information is what I'd say in short. And having not gone through it, like I have a different, I wouldn't even say respect, just a different understanding, a deeper understanding of the people that have went through it before us, that you were offered that opinion on something that may be small, but it wasn't your decision. Now it's your decision. And so, there's some things I'd spend a little more time on, and there's some things, as you said, the stop sign comes up or the Heisman. It's like, you can handle that. You're grown. You can make that decision. You know you don't need me for that.
Yeah.
I like that. If the Heisman sign's on the door,
That's it.
please leave me alone.
I know. I need that Heisman sign. I swear. I know. Yeah.
What was the decision, Kari, that maybe you made in your first year that you really enjoyed? Like, it was one of the first times where it's like, okay, you're a head coach, you made it, and you're like, you know what, it's nice to be able to make that decision.
Yeah, I'm in an offensive meeting and I'm watching film with the guys and I'm like, oh, you know what, I like this play, but I feel like we should maybe change something on this play. And I look to the door, and because I'm used to the head coach kind of either being there or something, and that was the first time it hit me. I'm the head coach. If I want to change it, I'm going to change it. And I said it kind of in the meeting. I'm like, wait a minute, we're changing this. Let's go. And so the players are like, yeah, you're the coach. You're changing it. And so it was kind of a fun kind of feeling about it. But it's your call, you know. So you get to make the calls on whatever needs to be done, and whether it's meals or buses or this or that. And there's a lot of little things that go into it that you have to get used to.
Craig, I can see from the way you're nodding and smiling that you might have an idea of a story too, where you got a chance to make a decision.
Right,
you're like, you know what, this is nice.
It is nice because the same sort of deal. You know, that we were looking at something as well, and they said, I don't really, you know, I would like to do this a little bit differently. And just like Hari said, it wasn't. You just looked around. You're like, well, okay, we're going to do it differently. There's nobody. I don't have to ask permission.
Does that getting used to though? Like for each of you, did that take a minute to kind of like sink in and go, I don't have to do the checks and balances system. Like I can just make this decision.
Well, for me, I just echo the same thing. It's just a different feeling. You know, I remember sitting down and, you know, similar to these guys, I was like, you know, well, can we do that? And they're like, you're the head coach. I was like, well, let's do that then.
For anybody in the future who is stepping in to become a first-time head coach, really in the CFL, but at large, what's the one piece of advice, something that you learned maybe this year?
It's probably a half-hour conversation for me, but I would just say, I would say be yourself. Yep. I'll leave it at that.
Same thing. Same thing. Yeah, be yourself, and you don't try to be anything that you're not, and that was the biggest focus.
Okay, the East Division coaches don't want to give an answer. Craig,
yeah, I hate to say it. I was thinking somewhat of the same thing. I'm glad I'm here. I get to listen to their responses before I can.
Start down with Dave. Yeah, Craig's.
The reality, you know, if you just like they're saying, you be yourself and you trust yourself. Mm-hmm. You know, that's the one thing is just trust that what you're doing is right. I mean, you can only do your best. And if you trust yourself and you're genuine with the players, I think they see that and they respond.
Yeah, you guys adjusted exceptionally well throughout the season. Congratulations on your first in the Canadian Football League. I think if anybody's lucky enough to get a head coaching job in the CFL moving forward, it's the first time. This group will be one that they'll look at and try and figure out exactly how you guys got it done, because making the playoffs is no joke around here. So congratulations, and looking forward to more success for all of you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.